everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast once again. Welcome to the return visitors, and welcome to my subscribers. I so appreciate you. If you are not a subscriber, please consider hitting that button so I can bring you Scott Soto once again. I am so happy to have Jeff. Always a great return visitor, so many times on the show. The incredible voice of the first two Yngwie Malmsteen albums, a number of band projects, Soto, Talisman, Art of Anarchy, Sons of Apollo, so many more. Been the singer for Journey, Trans-Siberian Orchestra every year we get at Christmas time. Aside from all of that, Jeff, one of the most sought-after session guys in the world today. He is the call. Jeff is fresh off the Monsters of Rock cruise, still wet behind the ears from that thing, celebrating a new record with his longtime supergroup project, W.E.T.
Or wet behind the ears.
yeah, there you go. The latest W.E.T. album is called Apex, and it comes out March 28th. Jeff, always great to have you, man.
Man, with everything you just said about that in that introduction, I'm exhausted. I'm tired.
And I didn't even touch on some stuff, Rockstar, for instance. I mean, that's just so many things. You've been in this business a long time. You're a smart guy. You know how it works. You're just so diverse. Like I say, you're the call. You're the session guy because you can do it all. You have a love for this stuff. You have a love for music in general. You're not just stuck in a box. So many great talents that you have to offer another artist and the world. We benefit from all of this.
Man, thank you. I'm truly not worthy of all these words and praise, but I got to tell you, this is my officially 41st year that I'm actually celebrating doing what I do for a living. And if after 41 years I'm not the household name like Ozzy Osbourne or Paul Stanley or Axl Rose or so many others that you even say the first name and everybody knows who you're talking about. I never got to that point. But if after 41 years of still doing this, you got to see at least my passion and my loyalty for music and the fact that I love it so much that there's nothing else that can pull me away from doing this. And yes, I've had little successes here and there that I can kind of put together in one mountain of, if you want to call it success or a career. But on the other hand, I've had to chisel my way through so many different little mountains to get to where I'm at. And if that means I had to be in several bands, I had to be on so many recordings and so many projects, etc., then so be it, because that's just the way I had to take. That's the route I had to take to get to where I am today.
Yeah. And I mean, like I say, with the sessions, you're the call, man. I mean, it's just, everybody in the business knows who you are. There's always a deep respect, no matter who it is.
It took a long time to get there, my friend. I mean, you just mentioned the Monsters of Rock cruise and the fact that I've only met Michael Schenker twice in my life in person. The first time was after I'd already sung on an album that he did. I think it was called Heavy Hitters. He did basically his own tribute album. It was a Michael Schenker tribute album that he played all the guitars on for his tribute album, whereas tribute albums are normally played by other people, nobody associated whatsoever with the actual original band. And so that was the first time I got to do that with him. And fast forward maybe a year or a few months after, he was playing in England. I went to go see him. I went backstage and met him for the first time, and he yanked me up on stage to sing with him. Same thing happened this time. I just recently sang on his new release where he's celebrating the Strangers of the Night album from UFO, and I just happened to be there. I get the call, hey, do you want to come up and sing Lights Out? I treasure the fact that people know me enough to not only invite me to do these kind of things with them on record, on studio stuff, but actually trust and want me to join them on stage to do it live as well.
Right. Yeah. And live is a different thing, as we know. In the studio, you can, throw the pitch any way you want and do it.
Nobody hears all the hiccups that happen along the way, or the little
Yeah.
flatness or the cracking of the voice, all that stuff. Yeah, you don't get to hear all that stuff.
Well, but and you know what it is, and I wanted to ask you too about that session thing, and why are you the call? Yeah, you got that voice, and you're diverse, and you're a fan, and you know what you're doing, but the live thing, can you trust everybody, especially on a cruise ship?
Mm.
Maybe there's been 50 whiskey sours taken in,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
who knows, but they trust you. You're trusted. They go to you because you're a pro. That's a thing, and
Yeah, I pride myself on my loyalty and my commitment to, if you hire me for something, I'm not going to let you down. Whatever it's going to take, if it kills me, I'm not going to let you down. And you can even add the journey situation to that. The trust and the respect and the loyalty that I had from even Neil Sean back in the day, because we had a band called Soul Circus. He knew without a single rehearsal, he knew with a 10-minute line check before my first show with them that I would be able to pull the entire show off, that I could pull the tour off. I remember sitting with Neil a few times on that tour, speaking to highly respected artists and musicians that we all know and love. I don't need to drop names or name names, but they would say to him, and I would hear the conversation on speakerphone. They said, "You tell that guy you can't pay me $1 million to get on a plane to do a 10-minute sound check and then do an entire show in front of 22,000 people." Just dropped dropped out of the helicopter,
Yeah.
And this is, I pride myself in the fact that I can do something like that because I have I guess the confidence, but not everybody else could or should have that confidence, because you just never know. It can go sideways and then you look horribly. But I have enough people in this industry that have followed what I do. They know I'm not going to let them down.
Yeah, and it's awesome. I mean, it's just so, and like I say, we all benefit from it. I know if Jeff's there singing, it's going to be pretty damn good.
I try. I'm still human. I still have my bad days, or sick days, or horse days when I'm doing too much and should be slowing down. But again, my passion for music supersedes Mother Nature. It supersedes the course of gravity and everything else that's supposed to keep you from climbing. It's always trying to pull you down. So I try to go against that as much as possible to deliver what's expected of me.
And we appreciate you, man. We appreciate you. Monsters of Rock Cruise. I still have yet to do it. It's a #1 on the bucket list for me.
Yeah.
The best parts and the worst parts. There's fans on the boat. You're a singer too. You need rest. You need to warm up. You need to cool down. Do you ever feel like you don't have your space because you can't go off the boat? You're kind of stuck there. Yeah. Is that ever an issue? I mean, I always think about that with the artists. They're stuck with us. You know what I mean?
The Monsters Rock cruise, or any cruise like that, like a specialty cruise like this, I call it, it's like being at the NAMM show for 5 days and you can't leave the convention hall.
Right.
You literally, from the time you walk out of your cabin, anybody you walk past, obviously they know who you are because they're there to see all the artists. They know, even from the smallest to the biggest artists, everybody knows who they're there to see. Right. So you're walking past people who know who you are. You go to get something to eat. You just walk, even as you're walking towards one of the stages to see one of your friends play, etc. It's nearly impossible to get from point A to point B without being stopped a multitude of times. Yeah. Now, normally I don't mind that. I love it because I love talking to the fans, and I don't even like using the word fans because it comes from fanatics, and I don't feel I have anybody that's a fanatic. So fans to me, it's always been a weird word. I wish they would come up with a stronger title for the people who listen to the music, that buy the music and love the music. But for the sake of argument, or in lieu of any other term, let's just say the fans.
Right.
I love talking with them, meeting with them, hearing their stories, hearing what they like about what I do, et cetera, et cetera. I love it. I live for it. I've always lived for it. I've never shied away from it. But obviously, as you said, on a boat, it's there's nowhere to go.
That's
You
the
can
extreme.
lock yourself in your room and not see anybody until it's showtime, or you can go and try to enjoy some of the perks of being able to see your friends, catch up with colleagues and peers. And yeah, it can get a little tedious, especially when you're trying to watch a band. I
Right.
try to find a quiet enough quaint little corner that I can't be seen, so I can actually enjoy the show without being bothered every 3 seconds. But for
Yeah.
the most part, it is what it is, and you got to know how to navigate it without upsetting anyone or pissing anybody off, but also without being pissed off and upset yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, I mean, it's great that people appreciate you and know you, and that of course the adoration of fans. The
Yeah,
great
I
thing.
gotta say
So
also
deserved.
at our age, it's not what it was when we were all younger.
Right. Right.
We were a little more excited and fanatic about meeting and seeing and all that stuff. We're at the age where where everybody's chill, everybody's really nice. I mean, when I see on a boat or a gig like this that has a collection of people our age, and I look and I see all these burly security guys, I go, send them home. We don't need that. We're
Yeah.
not we're not going to be fighting. We're not going to be doing anything that we need somebody to actually break anything up. We're at that age where we're just chill. We just want to enjoy, and we're going to enjoy. We have the extra income to put towards these kind of things, and this is where we are in life. We just want to enjoy what's left in life. And
Yeah.
we're not going to be fighting and causing trouble and you know busting televisions and stuff like that. All that stuff was back in the day.
Yep, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. And I would suppose you don't get the 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 claustrophobic fan thing either, where you get a little bump on the shoulder. Hey Jeff, how you doing? And keep on going.
Right.
And give you your time and your space.
No, like I said, you learn to navigate it so you can be respectful to the people that are following you and supporting you for so many years, because that's the bottom line. You got to remember, if anybody is bothered by a fan saying wanting to say hello or ask for a photo, that person is the reason why you're able to afford all of this. You're able to afford your cars and your living and your lifestyle. So it's the least you can do. It's the least portion or side of thanks that you can do to offer to somebody for allowing you to do this for a living.
Yeah, man, that's awesome that you say that too. Um, Apex out 3/28, March
Yes, sir.
28th. We get Apex. What's the
10
right?
days away.
Yeah, unbelievable, man. What's the writing process for the band at this point? Has it changed over the years?
Not really. It's the
Great.
first album. I had no contribution whatsoever because it truly was. I was basically a hired gun, so to speak. When we put this thing, we didn't really put this thing together. It was put together for us. It was hand selected by the president of the label that said, "I want to see what the culmination of these three sounds and diversity artists would sound like put together in one unit." And so from that, I was so busy, and I'd even forgotten that a folder of songs was sent to me to sing and to get ready. I remember sitting on it for like months, and then I got an email from Eric Martinson, who I barely knew at that point. Said, "Hey man, just wondering if you got started yet." I'm like, "Started on what? What are you talking about?" Because I'd forgotten about it. I was really busy, and Wet was kind of like an afterthought at the time.
Uh,
And it wasn't until I actually opened up the folder and go, "Whoa, how come I got the folder, I never listened to the stuff, and now that I'm listening to it, I can't wait to start singing this stuff." And that's probably why the excitement and the level of what we delivered on the first album was there, because I knew I wanted to sing this, especially after the whole Journey situation. It was the perfect vehicle for me to sing at that time.
yeah,
And in regards to the process of the writing, it hasn't really changed. I contribute a little bit here and there, but because I live in America and the rest of the guys are all in Sweden, it's easy for them to get together. Songwriting should be a collaborative effort. When you're writing with somebody, you're sitting in the same room with them. And I don't have that luxury to do that with the guys. There's only a couple times where I've been sent a song or two from Eric where he's just doing la la throwaway lyrics while he's just showing you what the melody should be.
uh,
And from that, it's quite funny. I actually emulate his initial throwaway lyrics and turn them into lyrics that stick. I remember Steven Tyler saying he did much of the same. I mean, I think everybody does that. The Beatles even did that.
Yeah, like a
With,
scat vocal, just to get the melody down, and then you form that scat into lyrics.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
some for the most part, you kind of have to come up with those throwaway lyrics because it's the only way to kind of get the idea across. Instead of just going na 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 na, you're not going to get a feeling for what the song should sound like unless you throw in went to the store and bought me some eggs, and you
right,
start
right.
throwing. You kind of get a feel more for the melody, and then obviously from that's when you turn it into a lyric. It
Man,
was there was a song. Let me see. I'm trying to remember what album that was. Right. I think it was the. Uh, oh man, I think it was the third album. Trying to remember. Um, I'm trying to remember the name of the third album
oh,
too.
um,
I think it was Earth Rage. I
oh,
think it was the Earth Rage
is that
album
the third album? Okay.
because yeah, Retransmission was the fourth one.
Oh,
Is
and
that right?
this is the fifth album.
This is number five. Yeah, it's crazy.
Hey, it is crazy. Wow.
So there was a song on the maybe it was the second album. Oh my God, I'm really I'm lost with this because the albums are so spread out through the years that I forget
Yeah,
when they're done. So basically, there was a song that Eric sent my way, and on the chorus, he's giving me the melody, but he's saying, "Rock me, Caroline." I'm like, "Rock me, Caroline." What? He said, "Can you write the lyrics for this?" I'm not keeping "Rock me, Caroline," so I had to try to come up with something that would actually still sound like I'm singing what he sent in the original melody. And that lyric, Rock Me Caroline, turned into Heart is on the Line. My heart is
right.
on the line because
Yeah, yeah,
sung over that melody, but it still had the cadence of Rock Me Caroline.
yeah,
So
yeah.
again, it was a throwaway lyric he was just doing just to give me the idea. Yes, it was on album number three. And I said, I can't get those vowel sounds out of my head for that melody. I can't say take me to the store because it
Right.
doesn't sound like it fits that melody. So I tried to find lyrics that stayed within the vowel sounds of Rock Me Caroline and Heart is on the Line. And it's one of those processes that you never know how you get there. You just get there.
Man, it's so cool, the process. I mean, it's just, it transcends the music. It
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
there's a whole English language thing
Yeah,
too. And I would imagine that's tricky too, because they're bilingual. I mean,
right.
there's a Swedish language going on in their world as well. So that's pretty cool. It's really cool.
Well, that's the advantage I've always had working with the Swedes is that they're taught English in school very young. It is the second language, and it's mandatory that they all speak English. So they even for those that don't speak it regularly or fluently, they all know it. You can go to Sweden and get around, and you don't have to worry. It's like certain European countries that nobody speaks a lick of English. You can get around, and you're going to be okay in that scenario in terms of coexisting, especially if you're just visiting. You're not there and learning the language. But that was one of, and so from that, they already have a grasp on the English language, and then you throw in all the years and influence of music and the stuff that they love that now forms into them being able to write in English without it sounding like it's being forced.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great, man. It's just unbelievable. And so many bands out of there too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more and more every day. I'll get it in my
Right.
inbox, and it's just endless. I mean, wow, it's just a hotbed over there. You share some vocal duties with Eric,
Mhm.
and he sings in Eclipse. But there's quite a few here. How do you decide on that? Is it just a feel thing that you both have and say, yeah, I think so too? Or,
Yeah.
you know, is it okay?
That's Eric's call because he's pretty much producing. He's overseeing the entire production from start to finish, and obviously, when he's writing the melodies, he's got a partner that writes majority of the lyrics or other people he writes with. If they're supplying the lyrics, he's always sending me versions of the songs with his voice on them anyway. It was my idea to do it on the second album. I said, the guy's a lead singer. He's co-writing all these melodies. He's co-writing all these songs anyway. Why don't we try one where we're actually duetting on? One of the things I loved about bands in the 70s, like Styx and Journey and Queen,
Yep.
is they had multiple singers in the band. And it opens you up to being able to do a lot more than just one voice, one person that does everything.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes with the backing vocals. I always do my own backing vocals on most albums and most things that I do. But for Wet, it was more important that Eric supplied, I throw in some, but he supplies the backing vocals because it creates a sound. When I'm doing my own backing vocals, it's 1,000 me's supporting one single me. With Wet, it's 1,000 Erics supporting the single Jeff, and that's where you get that sound. That's where you get that vibe. So for the new album, when Eric is mixing or listening back, he's probably saying, this would be a good song for me to take a verse here and there. And I'm all for it. I'm like, do as much as you want, whatever you want, because I love that diversity. I love the fact that you can hear and see this band consists of two strong enough vocalists to pull off a song, especially a duet.
Yep, I love it too. And that was one of the things, not to take away from Journey. I mean, all great, all the albums are great. But the Infinity album and after Evolution, was it, where they had Greg Raleigh and Steve Perry. That
Same.
Man, when it goes from that
totally different voices, but that's what made those songs, certain songs,
yes.
the push and pull, the yin and yang, whatever you want to call it. Those were my favorite Journey songs from that day when Greg Raleigh was still there. The ones that they get to, they switch off on vocals. It's almost like a breath of fresh air. You listen to Greg sing, it's soothing. Man, it's so familiar. I know that voice from Santana from the early Journey, and then Perry comes in, and then the skies open up.
Right.
And I love the push and pull of having two singers like that.
And of course, Perry going on when Roy left, and they're great songs, but it just. It felt a little bit one-dimensional in that way to me. I really missed that.
Think of Fleetwood Mac. I mean, there's so many bands in the 70s that had those, you had several singers that took leads on certain songs or duetted on them, or even how the backing vocals sounded, because you had that level of diversity to choose from vocally.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
You got the addition of Jamie Borger. Talisman,
yes, sir.
Made there on drums. And for me, it sounds, he's a straightforward, little simpler, in the pocket kind of guy. It's a little more Bonham like, where it's a big, hard driving sound. Do you feel like it changed the sound of the band at all? And did it influence the writing at all?
I'll give you a quick little story behind that. I had no idea because when Eric sends me the songs, the initial skeleton versions of the songs, it's done with drum loops or whatever programs he's using to create and write the songs, or how they write the songs. It's never with the real final drums. So I get used to that version when I'm doing my vocals here in my home studio, etc. And then it's all in Eric's hands for mixing and whatever they have to do to finish the record. He sent me the record mixed. He said, let me know what your thoughts, you proofing things. Can you turn this down? And I remember listening back going, is that Robin? Is that our normal drummer?
Right.
I had no idea. I had no idea there was a fallout or a disagreement or anything. I just assume every Wet album, it's Robin's on drums. Magnus is playing lead guitar. I know the process.
Right.
But I'm listening back going, this doesn't sound like Robin.
That's different.
Program. And I wrote to Eric, I go, is that Robin on drums? It doesn't sound like him. He goes, it's not, and I'll give you two more guesses. That's what it is. And immediately, because I'm so used to the way Jamie Borger plays, I said, it sounds like Jamie. Don't tell me. They surprised me. They didn't want to tell me. Jamie recorded the entire album and said, we're not going to tell Jeff until it's mixed, and let's see if he notices. I noticed immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I got it on the second try, because I wasn't guessing that it wasn't Robin, I just said doesn't sound like Robin.
Yeah.
So what did you do to make him sound like that? The second, all I needed was a second guess. I go, that's Jamie, and I knew. So
Yeah.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled because it truly is a full circle moment. Because Marcel was in the videos. He wasn't on the album, but he was in the videos with us on the first album. And now on this new album, we have another representation of Talisman right alongside me. And to me, I'm so chuffed about the whole idea of Jamie being on this record with us.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I did notice too. I noticed it pretty instantaneously. When I had it on, I was like, something's different. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
definitely drives a little harder.
Uh-huh.
It's more straightforward and in the pocket. Yeah,
That's what I always loved about Jamie's drumming because he actually comes from more of a pop world. I mean, everything, if you go from the early parts of his life and career and influences, he grew up with the Sweet. He grew up with Eagles. He grew up with Bryan Adams. He
yeah,
loves that really syrupy, pink and fluffy music, if I want to call it that. He loves that really commercial, Richard Marx. I mean, you name it, Peter Cetera, all that kind of stuff. That's in his wheelhouse as a writer, as a drummer. But when he plays rock, there's that element put into rock that it's like, whoa, I would have never expected somebody who plays that kind of music normally to be able to play this way when he's doing rock stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, it's got a vibe from day one when he joined Talisman. Like, man, this guy's got something so cool.
It is, and now that you mentioned that, I think that's where it comes from. It's in the pop world. I think you can play. You have to play more to the song.
Yeah,
The drums aren't front and center as much
right.
as in hard rock. So he simplifies things and he plays to the song, and it's
But he
just
also chooses his moments where it's not
yep,
going to be so simple. It's actually going to be quite creative and like, ooh, I
yeah.
love what he just did there. You wouldn't normally expect that from a session or studio drummer who's basically just playing for the song and trying to just stay in the background.
Yeah, it's great. I loved the change. It's really a great sound, man.
Thanks.
Really cool. Wet, one of the best in the melodic rock genre for me. Frontier's the home of melodic rock for sure.
Mm,
I often see the only people love Frontiers. If you love that genre of music, you love Frontiers, and they do so much other than
right.
that too. But I do see complaints every now and then. I don't know if complaint is the right word. They all sound the same. Uh,
Right.
you know, and when you put an Eclipse album on, you put a Wet album on, you put a Soto album on, they're similar. Uh,
Right. You're going to have
you
some
know,
similar. Naturally, you're going to have some similarities.
right. There are those elements that make it what it is.
Right.
How difficult is it to do something new, but still with those necessary elements? Is that like a problem when you're recording this and you're listening back? Do you ever say to yourself, "We need to change that," because we've kind of done that passage before, or anything like that? Is that ever a concern to make it slightly unique without losing those elements?
Yes and no, because you have to remember you have an audience to impress or to keep in your back pocket.
Hmm.
And if you go too far left or too far right or too far out of the circle, out of the pocket, you're going to lose them.
Yep.
For the most part, there are a lot of fans of music, not necessarily fans of us, but fans of music that love the diversity. And we talk about the album Over Your Shoulder all the time, the Terence Trent D'Arby album that we both love. It has nothing to do with Black Sabbath or Kiss or Ozzy Osbourne, zero to do with that world.
Hmm.
But we also know that if we start tapping into that world with what people have bought our past records, we're going to lose them. So you sneak in little things to please your ear, to please your own creativity without abandoning what people are expecting of you. And I've done that all my life, all my career. Some some notice it, some actually hear it. Even Mike Portnoy, when we first did the Sons of Apollo tour, and I would overhear him doing interviews, and he said, "I think Jeff is one of the only ones I can actually name out there that can inject soul into prog. That you don't really listen to prog music with
Right.
someone who's got a soulful R&B approach to it behind it. It's it's some very talented musicians and singers doing that kind of stuff, but it can sound a
Rigid.
little flatlined. It can sound like there's no real diversity outside of that rock world or that the prog world, and I naturally it's just in me. I'm influenced by Jackie Wilson and Temptation, Sam Cooke, and all that stuff. How am there's no way you're not going to hear some of that even in the hardest rock stuff.
Yeah.
So for Mike to give me that compliment, it was a huge thing for me because like, yeah, I'm a soul singer in a rock band, now in a prog band, and you're going to hear all those different influences melged together.
Yeah.
And I pride myself on that. And you're the same. You pride yourself on liking many different things that aren't supposed to be within the same musical genre or walk of life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I can't imagine life without, I mean, I listen to the yacht rock stuff. That's some of my favorite stuff.
Yeah,
I love to sing those songs over
absolutely.
and over. And then I throw a Slayer album on,
Right.
and everything in between. That's what I love about, having music in my life.
I've said it in many an interview. I grew up only listening to R&B, soul, pop music, and it wasn't until bands like Toto and Journey came around or even Foreigner with Lou Gramm, where you can hear the singers so influenced. You can hear Lou or Bobby Kimball or Steve Perry. They're so influenced by black music and soul music that it's a different approach compared to if you had just a rock singer doing that music. You wouldn't have that influence that really expands the sound.
Yeah.
And that's what made those bands and those singers so special. And I always wanted to be along those ranks, not just to be a metal screamer, not just to be a hard rock singer or even a ballad singer. I wanted to be all of the above.
Yeah. Yeah. And you are, man. Definitely. And
I try.
I love it, man. I mean, and it wouldn't like Sons of Apollo and stuff like that. It just wouldn't
Yeah.
be the same. And prog can be rigid. And that's a lot of times that's what I love about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
It has its sound, it has its core
Mhm.
approach overall, but it's when you put somebody who's not normally from that world, like myself, into that world, you're
Yeah.
naturally going to get a different approach to it.
And it fits. That's the really
Yeah,
weird thing. It's like
absolutely.
this guy's probably not going to fit, but he does, and he really does. And it just
It's funny. I didn't realize it at the time, but as I finish albums, I'm working on records, whether it's Ellefson-Soto, whether it's Wet, whether it's my solo records. I think on every album the past 20 years, on every one, Soul Circus, you name it, there's at least a whoa. There's one of these little Sam Cooke things that Steve Perry made so famous with Journey.
yeah.
And I'm so influenced by that. I always end up with an ooh, oh, one of those kind of R&B things kind of thrown in. And I'm not trying to force it in there. It just naturally comes out of me.
Yeah, it's great, man. We love it for sure. Um, Eric produces the record. He puts it all together. It's kind of his little baby.
Yeah.
You're a producer yourself. You do all your studio work and sessions, and you produced some Spectra. We'll talk about a little bit about that. But when you get something, is there ever a time where you say, "Okay, sounds good. I might have done it differently, but okay, I could do that." Is there, because it's like me being a photographer. It's like me shooting a show and then giving it to somebody to do post production. It's
Yeah.
like it's not going to be exact. They're not going to crop it the same way. They're not
Right.
going to put all those things on the same way. But it might still be great, but it's not maybe what you would do. Do you ever feel that way? Like when you get something back from Eric and it's kind of like, not what I would do, but I like it.
Pretty much 97% like that. But I welcome it, and I'll tell you why. Because I do so much work where my opinion or my stamp is required. It's not necessary, but it's required. In a situation like Wet, it's not required. I let Eric do what he does when the creative process to the mixing process. I trust and respect what he's done, especially because I've watched him grow through the years, and he's just gotten so much better at what he's been doing and what he does. But number two, I welcome something that's going to be different from what I would put into it, because all that's going to do is give me another influence that I can now put into something else later. There are so many songs on every W.E.T album that I would have it would have been a completely different melody, a completely different lyric or title, etc. But because I didn't insist on changing it, or insist on I have to write it or I'm not singing it, I've been able to put my stamp on what somebody else brings me. But I also go, because I would never normally do that. Now I would do that because I've done it. I take what I've done and I'll apply it towards something else, because now I have a new influence that I can now add to my arsenal. You never stop learning, you never stop growing, you never stop adding to what you are and what you do as an artist. That to me is the most important thing, especially in creating and continuing to do new music. A lot of people just said, I've done as much music as I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna ride and rest on my laurels and just ride into the sunset with everything that I've already done. I'm not one of those. I have to continue to be creative, because I would burst otherwise if I'm not able to actually go in and do something new, something different, something I haven't done. And that's what I do get from W.E.T.
Yeah, and it makes you more diverse. Yeah.
I always use that reference for Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I'm not a rock theater guy. I'm not a musical theater. I'm not a Broadway person. I'm show tunes, whatever, however you discuss that world of music. I've never been into that side of things, but because I have to, for it to be believable, I have to do it the way, the conviction that's expected of me. From that, I get another level of theatrics that I have put into Sons of Apollo, or I put into my solo stuff that I normally would not have had without doing the Trans-Siberian experience.
Yeah, which is amazing. I saw you here in Chicago this past time, and just it just gets better.
The juggernaut, yeah. It's
unbelievable. Mariah,
yeah,
and she's just seeing you guys side by side there was just. Yeah, man, it was so great.
We truly have some of the greatest singers in the world in TSO, and I'm so grateful and blessed that after 17 years they still want me back. I'm not a spring chicken, and it's natural to put the young ones in to get more longevity, and they keep me in the fold, and I'm beyond grateful and blessed.
Yeah, and it's great. If anybody has not seen that, they really need to see that. Just so many great singers, like you say, and guitar players and drummers and everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's all over the board.
Absolutely.
But the singers, man, Chloe gets up there, and I'm in tears. I mean, I lose it. I can't. It just can't stay. It's so great.
It's amazing. Everybody that gets a lead up there, they truly deserve it. But not only that, they really they knock it out of the ballpark. Even there's a guy that's been with us for a few years now, Nate Moore, and I just love the crust and the life that you hear coming out of his throat. You hear the heartache, you hear the hardship, and every word matters when that guy sings. And I really dig it.
It's got to be cool to be around that. Yeah. Be a part of that for sure. And I mentioned Spectra. That was 2021.
Right.
Overload. You produce it. You kind of put it together with Alessandro, right?
Yeah. Co-wrote all the songs with Alessandro. Yeah. And sorry, go on.
BJ's the singer. We got from Soto and Talisman, and then Edu on drums. Long time, partner in crime there for you. You produced that album. Are they done? Is that project done? Are they going to do another one?
They released a new album about 6 months ago, I believe. Maybe.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Their follow-up album came out. I think it's stronger, to be honest with you. I know Alessandro was still involved in the writing. I had nothing to do with it. I gave him a few backing vocals because I was too busy, and they kind of wanted to now their sophomore recording to kind of land on their own feet, because in the first album I sang all the backing vocals, and you can hear it. It sounds like a collaboration, and now it sounds more like them. They have their own sound and signature, and I've always been a champion of these guys. I met them as the players in a band together, was it 22 years ago or so. They were young guys in a band together, and they're still working together. They work with me, Leo Mancini, the guitar player for Spectra. He was also there from day one, working with the Brazilians. So to this day, that's still my solo band now. When I'm doing solo stuff around the world, to separate Soto from JSS, I still have BJ and Edu because I really need them. But for Soto, that's a different machine, a different animal. And JSS, I get to utilize the Spectra guys because they play and do everything that I need them to do so well.
Yeah, it's great. All this great music, man. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's so much there for everybody. It's
Yeah.
yeah, we're talking about all this stuff that you've done in your past and you continue to do. Is there a recorded performance that you're most proud of? Is there one that sits on top for you?
I think, yeah, you know what? The first Sons of Apollo album really resonates as something. I think it's more special because it's something different and so unique compared to everything else that I've done. You can find similarities here and there for everything I've done, from Talisman to W.E.T to Soul Circus and all the great things I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to do. You hear a lot of the same nuances pretty much throughout all of that. With Sons of Apollo, it was a whole new animal for me. It was a whole new world for me to tackle with and for these guys. And so I go back and forth. The Talisman Humanimal album to me was the most diverse Talisman album we'd ever recorded, and I think it's because we were able to do it together. We lived together for a month, working on the songs daily, chiseling away. We recorded and I wrote lyrics and everything while we were in the studio, the old-fashioned way, the way they used to do it back in the day with big budgets. We did that with Humanimal, and you can hear it. You can hear the level of camaraderie on the songwriting, but also the level of how we all sound together because it was so fresh and unique and organic together. And I have to say, Sons of Apollo was the only other one that really came together that same way. I was in the studio crafting the melodies and the lyrics with Mike and Derek. It was something that was more a unit when we were putting it all together compared to, you send me the song, I write my lyrics, I sing them, I send them to you, you mix it. That's the majority of how I've done everything for the past 30 something years, even including before we had this technology. After Rudy Pell or Talisman would send me the songs, I'd sing them in my home studio, and I'd either send them the tapes or I would fly over with the tapes. That way we can fix and finish anything that needed to be done or redone.
Yeah, crazy, man. Yeah, I love when bands do the old school in the same room thing, man. It's just, I can hear that. There's an urgency to it, man. There's just, there's a certain magic that happens. Yeah.
And to be honest, I would love to have that time and that level of camaraderie on everything I do, but it would be humanly and virtually impossible. Yeah. Because I'm so involved with so many different things. You would need about 10 of me to be able to put in different countries and be able to to squeeze that amount of time that you need to do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky and I'm fortunate to be able to do both.
Yeah.
But you do truly hear the difference of the music and the creativity when you're able to do it together.
Yeah, it's great, man. I have to ask about Ellefson-Soto. Do you plan on doing another record?
Records in the can. It's coming out in May, I believe. It was one of these, and again, the way Eric Martinson, he's the ringleader, the overseer. David is that with Ellefson-Soto. He pulls the songs together. He gets the timing together. He gets the label side, all the industry side stuff together. I just have to relax and sit back while I'm doing all the million of other things that I'm doing and wait for it to come in, and then I dive in and I put my input. And I love working with David and Andy, who's our guitar player and also co-writer in the band, Andy Martin-Jelly. And I love the fact that they allow me to be me. There's so many situations I've proven myself as an artist, producer, writer, blah, 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 blah. But there are still times where I'll do something and go, not really what I thought you were going to do. Can you try more of this, try more of that? I don't mind that at all, because whatever's good for the song, the best thing for the song, of course. Yep. But when it comes to Ellefson-Soto, I'm really, really headstrong on the ideas I come up with. And when I send it to David, oh God, I hope he doesn't say, oh, I don't know, man. And every time him and Andy say, home run. You knocked that one out of the park. That's awesome. And that's what motivates me to want to do more and to give my all into that, even that situation, because I know if I'm making them happy with what I'm turning in, I know in the end it's going to be a cohesive sound and project.
And it's cool that they accept that little Sam Cooke thing that you do.
Yeah.
Because it's a heavy record. That's a heavy record.
Yeah.
It's heavy stuff. It's Dave
Yeah.
Ellefson. It's Megadeth kind of
Right,
stuff.
right. The new
Uh,
record, and it's weird because the first album, when we did it, it wasn't supposed to be an album. I was doing songs with David and Andy. We were just writing songs and recording songs during the pandemic, and it turned into, hey, we're on to something here. We can't give these songs to someone else or just use them as catalog music. We have something here, and that's why what made us put that out as an album. This time around, we actually went in to record and write an album. We didn't say, let's just write songs and see where it goes. We actually went in and said, this is the sound. This is what we created in the first album. Now let's expand on it.
oh man, I can't wait, man. It's just
It's really, really good. It's really good.
unbelievable.
I don't listen to my own stuff that often unless I have to learn songs for a tour or a show.
Right.
But I actually find myself listening to this record just to listen to it.
It's just awesome. Did you had a date or an approximate time we're gonna get that?
I know it's in May.
Okay.
We're getting together next month to do photo sessions and videos and stuff like that. Uh,
Nice.
so I believe it's some like late May. I'm not exactly sure of the exact timing, but it is.
I love it, man. I love it. It's great. I saw Wet in 2013 at Melodic Rock Fest,
Right.
which was super cool because, those guys are in Sweden. You're here. And this was in Arlington Heights, Illinois. It's like,
Yeah.
what are the chances of that? It's very slim chance that you're going
Right.
to see that. And I've been wanting to see the band ever since. Any touring, is that something that I see you guys playing on the boat there? This house is on fire, you did it acoustic. That's super special right there too. Those, I hope those people know how lucky they are, because we're probably not going to get a tour of any kind or shows, right?
More less likely than
Yeah.
more. And it's mainly because of course it sounds like an excuse, but we're all just so damn busy all the time. And when we're not busy at that moment, we're planning to be busy for the future moment. It was the same as Sons of Apollo. You had to find the time, you had to find the right moment, the window, the pocket of time to be able to now put all your eggs in that one basket. And when that basket is full, then you have to move on to the other things that you have coming up. And so that's the main reason. But on a personal level, I got to be honest with you. I'm pushing 60 this year. I'm not really that kind of singer live anymore. I'm not. I don't feel it would be serving the songs justice if I have to go up and say, "Hey guys, that's too high. Can we detune? Can we bring it down?" I don't want to start living under that umbrella of working around it to be able to pull the songs off live. Wet, especially because a lot of the melodies and ideas are not written by me. I'm doing things that naturally just don't work on a day-to-day basis on stage.
Right.
When I go on tour, I always choose songs that I know on my worst day is going to sound decent. On my best day is going to sound great. But if I take songs that are all within a certain level range-wise, and I'm having a bad day, you're not going to get one song that sounds good. And I don't want to. I don't want to do that to people. I don't want to do this to myself or my own career. With the YouTubes and everybody with a smartphone and all that, there's just way too many opportunities for people to remember. Out of 1,000 shows, they want to talk about one show that was the worst.
Yeah.
And they bring you down, they will chip you down, knock you by the knees, and do whatever they have to do to say, you see, he does suck just because you have one bad night.
Yeah.
They won't celebrate the other 999 good nights. They just
Right.
want to mock you on the bad night. So at this day and age, I find I will only accept things that I know I can pull off, that I know I can represent properly, even on my worst night.
Yeah, I so appreciate the candor there, and it's so true. Unfortunately, it's the world we live in.
Yeah.
It's rough to see that
Oh
because I
yeah.
know these guys are great. I've seen these guys. He's fantastic.
Mm.
He's just had a bad night, or everything goes, and it's a live show. You're supposed to go and have fun. Okay, so the guy doesn't sound perfect. Was it fun? Did you have
Exactly.
fun? Have
Exactly.
fun. Sing along with him. Just
And it's funny because I do come from that world of where I would go see a Steve Perry or Freddie Mercury or Whitney Houston or Luther Vandross, and they're such incredible singers. If they have a bad night, you're going, oh man, oh they're losing it. You naturally feel that sunken, sulky feeling of, oh well, it's not what it used to be. But you're judging that on one night, or you're judging that on one week of somebody sick or just losing their voice. For me, it's more important to choose a set list of things that you know you can get through on your worst night. And with Wet, I don't think that's humanly possible.
no.
Everything starts here and only goes here.
Yep. Yeah, and it's beautiful, man. On the record, you listen to this thing, it's just the layering, the production is slick.
Yeah,
It's just beautiful to listen to, man. And that's the melodic rock we love for sure.
yeah,
You know, Jeff, I hope you come to Chicago, man. Hit me up for sure. Let's I want a hug at least, man,
right on, brother.
or something. Yeah, you
We'll
got
work something out.
any plans? What's next for you?
The next time I'm through Chicago, I don't know the exact dates, but it's going to be within the next few months. And once I
Yes.
know, obviously I'll post it. Is with my trusty sidekick, Mr. Jason Beeler.
Ah,
We
that's great.
we always do our little acoustic comedy thing
Reggie's.
at Reggie's, and that's going to be the next outing for
Cool.
Chicago for me.
That's cool, man. I hope to see you there for sure.
Right on.
All right. Love you, buddy. Thank you.
All the best. All
All
right.
right. You too. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.